Oh yeah, this is going to look great once it's all tidied up. G'day, my name is Kev. My channel and website is dedicated to helping people build and maintain ponds on a budget. Here's how I made my stream into my main pond. This is very easy to do. Because I had a natural slope, there was very little digging involved. First I layered down some geotextile underlayment, then I placed my EPDM rubber liner over the top, and then more geotextile over the top of the liner. I'm running the pipe from the main pond all the way up to the start of the stream inside the liner. I like to do this whenever possible. If there's ever a leak, I know it's contained within the liner. I did dig out a small pooling area just to create a spot where you can dangle your legs in. It's nice and shady up at this point of the stream. I did run out of heavy duty geotextile, but I had some of the old white stuff left from the previous pond. Here's the waterfall filter that I made a few weeks back. The pipe is plumbed into this at the bottom and the water rises up through the sponges and bio balls. I dug the filter about 3/4 of the way into the ground so that by the time I'm done, it won't be visible at all. Because I had so much scrap liner, I decided to place the filter within the liner, again, just in case of a leak. If you do decide to do it this way, you need to drill a few holes in the base of the filter to allow the water that pools inside the liner to equalise with the water inside the filter. If you don't, the filter will potentially float inside the liner. I hope that makes sense. So there was no need to seam this long liner onto the main pond, as the drop from the top of the main pond back up the stream is over 6 inches. However, I did seam the pooling area and the piece that has the waterfall filter onto this long piece. So up there, it's formed one continuous piece, even though it's multiple pieces. To stop the water from siphoning out of the filter, if the pump stops, I added a check valve that only allows the water to flow one way. And the pump that's powering the stream is housed down there in the intake bay. So that's the basic setup. Now I can start adding some rocks. Oh, and I should say, if you do need to do any liner seams, now's the time to do them before you add any rocks. The flatter all the liner is, the better, and the easier it is to make those seams. So I started just by adding a few rocks to stop the liner and the geotextile blowing around. This pond line is 2.5 meters wide, but the stream's going to be much narrower. I placed in the large rocks first and then filled with the more manageable sized rocks. I added a few narrow choke points where I'll have small waterfalls or rapids. I made sure to add an area where you could easily step over the water. Eventually I'll have a bridge at another location, but it's always nice to have a spot where you can just step over open water. Those narrow choke points I filled with expandable foam. Now, in the past I've always used the expensive waterfall specific foam, but this time I just went with the generic yellow foam. It's so much cheaper and it did a great job. I'm happy to be the guinea pig. Hopefully it doesn't hurt the fish or other wildlife, but I'll let you know in the future. But I can say so far it hasn't bothered the tadpoles in the slightest. I used nice big rocks up at the waterfall filter, just so that it really hides it. So now that I had the main rocks in place, I could bring in some dirt to lift the liner walls up. I found moving in loose dirt is way better than digging. It also allows me more freedom to set the contour of the surrounding landscape. Hopefully this little drawing will help explain what I mean. First, this is what we have, just the rocks and the flat liner. Then I added in the new dirt to form the walls and contain the water within the stream. The new dirt on the walls can be contoured to drop away from the stream. This is going to prevent any runoff from entering the system. And so eventually when we add in the plants mulch and hide the liner, you can't even tell that the ground slopes slightly away from the stream. It'll just look like the stream is the natural low spot. I just very roughly positioned in the dirt to secure the walls. I really wanted to give it a test to make sure I could identify any low spots that needed to be built up further before I smoothed it all out exactly how I wanted it. I used a regular straight edge level to make sure that the inflow of the pooling area was slightly lower than the outflow. The rest of the stream and the pooling areas I just did by sight, as I knew the slope was pretty continuous all the way down to the main pond. Now that all the rocks were set and I'd put some foam in, I turned the pump on and fired it up. I was pretty happy with the rough test. There were a few areas I needed to do some more foaming, but there were no low edges, so that was great. I added in some extra foam in those spots that were annoying me and started to backfill amongst all the rocks with 7mm drainage scoria. I did make a bit of a mess with some of the foam, but I should be able to clean that up once it hardens. I like to use the scoria as it is a small volcanic rock with lots of pores, so it's awesome from a biological filter point of view, but it's also cheap, so it fills all the voids, and then I can eventually just add the more expensive gravel over the top. So now it was all up and running and functioning well. All I needed to do was the tidy up, trim the liner, finish the edges, and landscape the area. But I'll show you that in a future update. Before I leave, I'll just play some footage of how the stream's currently looking. Of course, I haven't tidied up the edges, but the actual stream's running nicely. If you want to create a stream like this, you want to have a pump with decent flow. I say around 8,000 to 12,000 litres per 30 centimetres of stream, like width, is ideal. You can fatten it out in certain areas, but that's the flow that you want through those choke points, the rapids or the waterfalls, to create a good effect. Anyway, I hope this video's been helpful. Thanks for watching and enjoy some of the shots of the stream. See ya.